Shaw Cable, dedicated to the community, service and you, proudly presents Spotlight on UNBC, the University of Northern British Columbia.
Brought to you in part by Northland Chrysler Jeep and Northwood Pulp and Timber Limited.
Northland Chrysler Jeep, home of the #1 selling minivan in North America, is located at 3rd and Vancouver in Prince George. Northland has been in business since 1984. Northland Chrysler Jeep is a proud sponsor of Spotlight on UNBC, a program designed to let you know what's happening at your university. Northland Chrysler Jeep, your Eagle and Dodge truck dealer, is where people make the difference. Northwood Pulp and Timber is a proud sponsor of Shaw Cable 10 and its volunteer-produced television programs. Northwood also supports UNBC. As a partner in progress, Northwood has donated $350,000 towards the scholarship fund. When matched by the government, it represents a contribution of $700,000.
Hi, and welcome to the first edition of Spotlight on UNBC for 1994. The new year brought a change of governance for UNBC. We'll examine the transition and what it means. Starting a new year always includes a look back at the year that was, and this program will be no different. We'll watch some highlights and some lowlights from previous Spotlight on UNBC programs and get some impressions of 1993 from UNBC President Geoffrey Weller. That and more is coming up next here on Spotlight on UNBC.
Spotlight on UNBC with your host, Rob Van Adricum.
For more than 3 years, the Interim Governing Council had been the main decision-making body at UNBC, but that changed in December when the IGC was replaced by a permanent Board of Governors and a Senate.
So effective immediately, UNBC will be like any other university, as I said, in terms of that traditional governance structure. And I want to now advise you as to who those new board members are, starting in no particular order. But
the Board of Governors is responsible for administrative issues at the university, and its members are Fred Beale of Prince Rupert, Carol Corcoran, a commissioner-elect to the BC Treaty Commission, Margaret Fulton, a former president of Mount St. Vincent University, James Gervin of Quesnel, Anne Martin of Prince George, a former member of the IGC, Horst Sanders of Prince George, Jennifer Simons, and former Fort St. John Mayor Patrick Walsh. Employees on the board include Les Shorter, Robin Fisher, and Winnie Kessler, and one of the 2 student positions has been filled by Carolyn Linden. Appointments to the Senate were also announced during the news conference. The Senate is a larger body and is responsible for academic governance at UNBC. Its members are James Angus of Hazelton, Kelly Barnard of Dawson Creek, also a former IGC member, terrace teacher Edward Harrison, and former Prince George School trustee Anne McQuaid. Faculty on the Senate include Lee Keener, Darwin Coxon, Annie Booth, Julia Emberley, Paul Bowles, Barbara Herringer, Dana Edge, and Don Sear. The student reps are Judith Gilbert, Carolyn Linden, Nikki Yando, and Jason Robertson. UNBC President Geoffrey Weller and Chancellor Iona Campignolo sit on both bodies. Different perspectives on the transition are offered by incoming board member Horst Sanders and outgoing IGC members Dale Kerr and Hans Wagner. Feels maybe a sense of some unfinished business?
Oh, very much so. You know, it's a little bit our baby.
Yeah.
You put a lot of yourself in it, and so there's a certain amount of this of a sense of loss in turning over, like kids growing up, I suppose, you know. So it'll take a little while of getting used to the fact that it's someone else's job now, and we are, as outgoing members of the IGC, still very much part of the northern populace. And as I said before, I think there's an expectation people on a broad base will continue to be involved and interested, and in that sense there's a continuity of involvement. But the university is taking on this structure. This was a step that was taken in more or less due time, and so onward it goes toward next September 1st.
I hope that our vision will be carried forth, and I'm sure it will, by the new Senate and board. It's important that they be up and running, I believe, for the startup of a major university in the fall. I hope that from a regional aspect, I was appointed to the IGC as a regional representative, that the regional mandate of the university will not get buried, that it will constantly be of much importance as the main campus here on Prince George. I want to see First Nations people able to participate fully in the university. I want to see people in remote regions such as Tatlayoko Lake, BC, able to participate in this university.
I think the real challenge begins when we open the doors, because then we're for real. Then the expectations will be, I think there's a fair bit of latitude and forgiveness right now for shortcomings, but I think once we open the doors, we have to deliver as any other university has. Yes, we have some special characteristics. We hopefully have some flavor. We clearly have to come to grips with the whole regional concept, which is still, I think, if there's an unfinished piece of business, I think it's that. It's bringing together high and fuzzy expectations with the very real notion that we must make this institution very, very accessible to a whole range of people in a whole range of circumstances. But to me, that is, I think, from just listening and hearing and reading, that's probably one major piece that has to be dealt with.
While he's a new appointee to the board, Horst Sanders is not new to UNBC. In the late 80s, he chaired the Implementation Planning Group, which recommended to the provincial government how a university could be built in the north.
One of our members on the IPG was Dr. John Ellis, who was one of the founders of SFU, and he did bring to us the reality how difficult and taxing it is to start a brand new university from the bottom up. And he referred to sort of the first team and the mortality rate. And some of it literally. I think some people did physically not make it. So I think I had a sense that it was a mountain to climb, but it was a lot more than I would have visualized. What do I think? I think a lot of work was done. And I think from what I read and hear, and I hope I find it confirmed once I'm more on the inside again, that we have maintained sort of the vision that we had for UNBC.
This part of the show is sporting a new look this month thanks to the fact that I've moved to a new office with about a dozen or so other departments. Christmas came early for UNBC in 1993 when Canfor announced a major contribution to the university's North to the Future campaign in mid-December.
We're here really to wish you well, much success, and I'm convinced that this university will be a great benefit to all the people of northern BC, because we in Canfor are very proud today to make a presentation to you, which is the largest single presentation we have ever made as a gift from Canfor, and we're very proud to make our first installment of a $500,000 donation, which with the generous backing of a provincial government will amount to $1 million benefit to your university. It's my pleasure to present this to you and to wish you well. Thank you.
It's certainly my pleasure to accept this check on behalf of the University of Northern British Columbia. and indeed especially on behalf of all of the students that will be coming here. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Bentley, and I'd like to thank all of the employees of Canfor. Thank you for this, but thank you also for being supporters of UNBC right from the very beginning. We look forward to a long and close relationship.
The UNBC library scored a coup recently when it acquired basically every single monograph published in Canada before 1900. Acquisition of the 58,000 title collection on microfiche means that the UNBC library instantly gained a research collection rivaling the pre-1900 collection of nearly any research library in the country. Interviews have begun for academic positions up for grabs in the second round of academic hiring at UNBC. The university is aiming to fill as many as 110 faculty and program chair positions by the summer, and shortlisted candidates will again be required to give public lectures as part of their interviews. Approval to build a student residence on the Prince George campus was granted to UNBC by the Ministry of Finance in mid-December. The tender for the 274-bed apartment-style complex is to go out this month, with construction to begin this spring. The residence will be built to the west of the main campus buildings on the other side of the ring road. When you rang in the new year earlier this month, you also rang in the year of post-secondary education in the city of Prince George. Not only will UNBC be opening for full operations this year, but the College of New Caledonia is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and the Open Learning Agency is now offering classes at its new training center. 2 UNBC academics recently saw the launches of their new publications. Program Chair of History Robin Fisher has co-edited From Maps to Metaphors, the Pacific in the Age of Vancouver, and Larry Wood's International Studies has just published a book on Asia-Pacific diplomacy. Meanwhile, Ken Perkichin, the Program Chair of Psychology, has received the National Award from the Heart and Stroke Foundation, honoring him as their Volunteer of the Year. Much of Dr. Perkichin's research has been on the effects of stress on the heart. And for all the latest UNBC news, call the info line 24 hours a day at 960-5678. The reaching of milestones is becoming almost routine at UNBC. Whenever you build something from the ground up, you're bound to do many things for the first time. 1993 certainly had its share of milestones. The 100th employee was hired, the library first opened to the public, and the first large-scale academic hiring campaign resulted in the appointments of nearly 40 faculty. UNBC President Geoffrey Weller has his own memories of 1993.
I think it's been a very exciting year. The major things, I suppose, are the coming of the first 40 faculty and, of course, the near completion of the Prince George campus, as well as the big change in the governance structure from an interim governing council to a senate and a board.
150 or so employees now. How do you see the group that we've assembled so far?
Oh, I think we have a very interesting group, very hard-working group, a group that's very committed to the institution, a group that's very flexible. Of course, it has to be flexible. we suffer from quite a few uncertainties, and of course we have to operate out of temporary offices and things of that kind. And I'm surprised that you know, things have been as upbeat as they have been.
What's that one event that you say that you would definitely remember the most?
Oh, I think it was when I was interviewed by Hannah Mansing of the CBC National News, standing on the Prince George campus site and looking around and I guess fully realizing that it's going to happen, and it's going to happen on time. A revelation, if you like.
On Canada at Large tonight, some groundbreaking news from the academic world. The ground in question is in Prince George, British Columbia. A brand new university is being built there. Ian Hannah-Mansing reports on the newest campus in Canada.
For students, I mean, it means access, available access here at a reasonable cost. Up until now, students have had to go from northern British Columbia to the lower mainland. And of course, that's been at great cost.
It's already begun. In this former elementary school, a few classes are underway. And for the first time, students in Prince George can get their degree without having to leave town.
It's easier just to stay here, live at home, get your student loan, and go to the college, or go to the university here.
UNBC officials say their institution will likely keep university-educated people in northern BC and attract others to move here.
I think it'll change the nature of the community. It'll change the nature of people's attitudes in the north. I think it will give them a confidence in their future, a sense of permanence.
Do you see that 1994 might be a year that sees the most transition from this startup phase to really moving towards what we're really here to do?
Oh, very much so, in the sense that there'll be a de-emphasis on the construction side of things and on a lot of the development side of things and on the hiring side of things. We will have completed a lot of very, very major tasks. And then, of course, that are preliminary tasks necessary to get us up and running. And we will, of course, and are right now, switching the focus very, very strongly to the students and to the academic side of the operation.
Hi, I'm Rob Van Addercombe, and welcome to UNBC's first foray into the world of television broadcasting, otherwise known as Spotlight on UNBC.
That's how the first edition of Spotlight on UNBC began 1 year ago. And in the past year, we've tried to give you a taste of this university and the progress it's making towards full opening. Many television programs feature a best of episode, but we're taking a lighter approach. And we hope you enjoy the least worst of Spotlight on UNBC.
A lot of people really appreciate the chance to get into something that's new and be a part. Like, it would be very exciting to be the first graduating class out of UNBC. So, and depending on what type of profs, who the profs are, I'm sure you're going to have professors coming from all over Canada, which is going to be a draw to students.
Being able to access, through teleconferencing and such, being able to access courses in my community are a bonus. I think you guys are definitely in the right direction. The only thing is that you have to make sure they're courses that the community wants, and communicating with the people in the community to make sure that they know about the courses.
At first, people will be reluctant to go.
Yeah, but when they realize it's a good university, that I think it will fill up and be one of the major universities in BC.
Just might be one of the better ones. People stop going to UBC and start coming up here.
The campus and the staff, the classes, pretty much everything about it is just such a good deal that, you know, I don't see how anyone could resist.
For myself, I wanted to get into the routine of school again right away. So that's great. The class sizes right now are small, so you get lots of individual attention. And if you're thinking about going back to school, going back to UNBC right now, now's the time to get in while the class sizes are small.
The only real interest I have in UNBC, setting up in Prince George, and anything I would put towards students to advocate for UNBC, is the fact that they have been so open, the fact that they are new, they're not institutionalized already, and it's an opportunity to see some change, some growth, and to have an input as a student. So you're not just a number. And so many students who've gone away for their first year from a northern area, northern city, experience being a number. And it's not the same here. It's like your phone and, hi, this is Jackie. Oh, hi, how are you? Just a second, I remember we talked about this. That's incredible. That part of it, I would encourage anybody who wants to go away to even their first year to experience UNBC, even though it's a baby university.
I think you're ever going to take classes here?
No, but my wife is signed up here.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, she's taking a forestry course here. That's why I'm working here, so we can afford to put her in.
I have no problem thinking about coming here, and I have been offered positions in Toronto. I was offered a position at Queen's University. And I looked at them and I said that, you know, there were various things that were quite appealing about those two cities. But there was something about coming to UNBC and to Prince George which overrode everything that I thought about the other two places. And so what's important is that this is an area which has not had a lot of research done. People who are very keen to work with the university, the First Nations people, for instance, the community colleges. I think that we have, as I keep saying, an unparalleled opportunity to set direction, to make a difference.
Are you planning to go to Boston again?
Yeah, I'm planning to go to Boston next year because I'll be a master and I'll have a really good starting number. And I want to do a lot better than I did this year.
You finished in the top 10% this year. What are you looking for next year then?
I would like to be in the top 4%. It was always my dream to go to Boston, and I thought, geez, I better go this year or I may never, or you never know, the wheels may fall off and you won't get the opportunity. And you always say to yourself, boy, I should have gone to Boston when I had the opportunity. So it was a big thrill for me, and the fact that there were over 1 million spectators was something to experience, because they're calling out your name going down the road, and it's quite exciting. It sure makes every other race pale in comparison.
We've got something brand new here, a new university. We've never had this opportunity for students before, so no longer do they have to go somewhere to become successful. Long time people, you're just going to end up doing what you've always done and being bored and those kinds of things, whereas you can find exciting opportunities here, and it will keep people in the north. More and more in the media, things are being portrayed as the glitzy, exciting things, and much music and 90210 and all those things. And I think partly the media is sort of starting to romanticize the north. Things like Northern Exposure and North of 60, those are starting to show importance on the things that we have in Northern BC, the lifestyle, the other kinds of things that are available there.
Well, basically, except the chute opens it up instead of
there we go.
the line.
Hey, we came, we saw, we kicked butt.
Our challenge for this next year is to take the calendar and to take the existing faculty as sort of the seeds of UNBC, and to recognize that within 12 months we have to take that from a fairly small number of seeds and grow it into a full-scale university.
How, like, on a personal level, how daunting is that?
We thought we were busy last year. We thought this last year of hiring the program chairs and some of the faculty and getting the calendar together would really, really keep us occupied. We're now realizing that last year was only a prelude for next year, and that we face an incredibly daunting challenge in the next couple of months, the next 12 months, I guess. What pulls us through it all is the excitement. Every single week you come to UNBC, you realize you're that much closer. Closer in terms of time, but closer in terms of accomplishment as well. And that when you start counting down, as we're doing, we're less than 1 year from full opening. And we realize all the things we have to do. Yes, on one level it's rather scary. On one level you sit there and you say, can we all get it done? And then every week passes and you say, we're that much closer. We're getting closer all the time, and the university's actually going to make it.
Thank you for watching this edition of Spotlight on UNBC, our first for 1994. You know, every host hates to admit that there's actually bloopers in the filming of any program, but we've had our share with this one. And I'll leave you with some of our lowlights from the past year next, and I'll see you again next month.
The guide to UNBC has been shipped to more than 1,000 people in its first few weeks of publication. Now I'm thinking I'm going to pick up the book. I'm losing my concentration on my words. The guide to UNBC has been shipped to more than 1,000 people in its first few publications.
Oh, this is fun. It's giving me an opportunity, yes, to acquaint myself with course areas that are of interest to me. Here I am, coming to British Columbia and teaching courses in BC history, or in Aboriginal history, or in the history of the Yukon and Northwest Territories. These are new areas in Canadian historiography, the study of Canadian history. So for me, that's been exciting.
Universities have been criticized for often here we go. This is the one. I can feel it. Universities have been criticized for producing graduates who may have the theoretical knowledge, but who often lack the skills necessary to compete in today's workplace. What is that?
There's a couple of bees.
I could hear it buzzing in my, I got caught in my salad.
Right over here, up by your head. I was just, I knew you wouldn't make it through that one.
The south central part of UNBC's region may soon have a regional coordinator. A candidate for the position was hired.
Ahead of yourself, aren't you?
Standing right in the basement of the bookstore, the print room and the mail room over in the back there. Mm-hmm. And the orange lights coming from tops that are over 2 openings right now, which when the bookstore is finished, will be actually 2 sun scoops to bring the light from outside down into this part of the building here.
How does that work?
Oh, sorry. That's a simple question, I thought. Sorry. Well, I probably won't, but...
Hi, and welcome to the UNBC Student Residence. Was I covering?
What's that?
I was covering the Jurassic Park.
I think so. I don't know. It was too big.
How's that?
Yeah, lift up your face. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, here we go. Okay? Yeah. Oops, I'll bring it up. Yeah. Well, I hope I didn't interrupt your sun tanning too much to bring you this edition of Spotlight on UNBC. As you can see, it didn't interrupt mine one bit. See you next month. Cheers.